Alright y'all, so we're back today with another video, and we're going to be taking a break from the usual 3 for 30 videos that I've been coming out with over the past couple of weeks. We're going to take a break and we're just going to do some more retrospecting on this past NBA season. But in this video today, we're going to be tiering starting point guards from each individual team over this past season. Now, I have what I took as the starting point guard from each and every NBA team. For qualifications, it was pretty much just who started the most games paired with whoever played the most minutes at point guard for each team. And I also decided to lean more towards if players were starting towards the end of the year rather than at the start of the year. So that's why you might see some guys who didn't necessarily have a ton of cumulative starts with a certain team, yet he is still on this list. Now again, I have one player from each team, so no duplicates, and I guess with that being said, let's just get right into it. Starting with the first player on the board is Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Now Trae Young, I am going to start off with him in the A tier, and I figured this would be a good time to give an explanation for what I'm doing with these tiers. S tier is pretty much your all-NBA type caliber players. A tier is more like the all-star talent level players. B tier means that you are a above average starter. C tier pretty much means that you are an average starter. And then D tier means that somehow you got the starting job, but you probably should not be in that same position heading into this upcoming season. Now, Trae Young, I put in the A tier. He didn't quite make the all-star team. He didn't make the cut in this past season, but he put up almost 30 and 10 a night. He might have actually, I didn't fact check before this, but anyway, Trae Young definitely put up all-star caliber numbers over this past season. Did a great job for the Hawks, even though they didn't win many games. I expect him to be on the all-star team next season, therefore A tier for me. Now, next player we're going to is Kemba Walker, and he will be joining him up in the A tier. Kemba Walker was an all-star this season, and again, Boston Celtics were a great team, came to the conference championship. Kemba Walker was a big part of that, even if his role might decrease as the years come. This past season, all-star caliber player, put up the numbers, earned the A tier. Now, Kyrie Irving, and I will take this moment to clarify, Kyrie did only play 20 games this past season, but the Nets had a whole lot of other guys who came in and started at point guard for Kyrie in his absence, and I really didn't want to have to choose between them. I was lazy, I'll fully admit it, so I'm just going to stick with Kyrie. And although it was a short sample size, it's Kyrie Irving. He will be joining these other two in the A tier. He had a couple 50-point games within his 20 games played for the Nets this season, so that definitely shows for something. I'm very excited to see what he and Kevin Durant can do, and if the Nets can make a big move in this offseason, they're going to be an exciting team to watch both in these coming months, and then once the season starts, seeing them all back on the court, I'm really excited for it. Now, moving on to the next player, we have Chris Dunn for the Chicago Bulls, and I decided to put him in the B tier. Chris Dunn, if you're not aware, is a very, very good defensive player. Not much offensive talent, not a great shooter, but he could easily have some all-defensive teams down the line in his future if he continues on the pace he's at. He's currently up for some free agency discussions, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But whatever team does end up getting him are getting a great perimeter defender who gets plenty of steals and harasses offenses day in, day out. Moving on to the next guy, we have Darius Garland, who for now I'm going to put in the C tier. Rookie season definitely has shown a lot of promise, but again, rookie season, so he didn't have too much production that was wowing. So C tier, he was just an average starter. Definitely showed off some great quickness and ball handling skills and passing and a good scoring ability, but defense still has a long ways to go, and again, rookie, he'll get there eventually. Now, Luka Doncic, I am classifying him as a point guard for this little exercise I'm doing, and he will be the first S tier quality player. Like I said, these are the all-NBA guys. Luka did make all-NBA this past season, putting up almost 30, 7 and 8, and only his second season, and we can only imagine that there will be plenty more seasons like this to come. Luka, I will go on a side note here. Luka is definitely my favorite player in the league, just for future references. I loved him since seeing him play in the EuroLeague a few years back before his draft. Loved him ever since. Very excited to see what he can do for the Dallas Mavericks, and they're going to be another fun team to watch in this upcoming season. But again, he's our first S tier of the day. Now, moving on to bubble sensation Jamal Murray. I was originally going to put him in the B tier when thinking of this video idea back a few months ago, even though it's not really an original idea, but anyway, just one I could get out there. But Jamal Murray, I was going to put him in B tier, but after his bubble performance, I think we all can agree that he is definitely an A tier worthy player. Just amazing performance after amazing performance, was pretty much one of the two biggest factors in how the Nuggets were able to come back from the 3-1 deficit, not once but twice in the same playoffs. And him and Jokic are going to be a very fun duo to watch in the upcoming years. Now next we have Derrick Rose, and I will put the asterisk on this one. I don't think Derrick Rose only started 15 games in this past season, but I really didn't want to spend this portion of time talking about Bruce Brown. Derrick Rose, he is going to get B tier worthy player. He almost put up 20 points a game this past season, and he's been playing great. His resurgence has been amazing, and all NBA fans can appreciate what Derrick Rose has done for the game of basketball. Hopefully he gets on a contending team in the coming years where his production can actually be useful instead of running away on the Detroit Pistons. Moving on to the next player, we have Bowman, who will be our first D tier player of this video. Obviously, Golden State was without Steph and Clay for all of the season. Well, Curry did play in some games, but missed most of the season. Bowman stepped in and was the starting point guard for somewhat of a majority of the games. Either way, he was fine. He didn't really impress. He's going to be back to his bench role next season, where he should be. And moving on to the next player, we have Russell Westbrook. And I know the Westbrook slander has been high, especially at the end of the season in the playoffs, but I think a lot of people forget that Westbrook was playing at all NBA levels in the months of January and February. He was averaging 38 and 8 or somewhere around there for those 2 months, playing some of the best basketball he has of his entire career, to be honest with you. So even though he didn't have the best ending, I think what he was doing in the regular season is definitely worthy enough of the A tier. Moving on to the next guy, we have Malcolm Brogdon of the Pacers, and Malcolm Brogdon will be in that B tier along with Rose and Dunn. Brogdon's just a really solid all-around point guard that can run your team, play defense, and score, do whatever's asked of him, and a solid guy that the Pacers have inked to a big deal, and he'll be holding down that point guard position for a few years now for the Pacers. And then next guy on the docket, Patrick Beverley, who will be going to the C tier with Garland. Patrick Beverley, above average defender, below average offensive player. Will get in your face, annoying. We all know Patrick Beverley, and yeah, he's just a starter caliber player. Definitely helps your team win games, but he's not necessarily doing anything out of this world. Moving on to LeBron James, the Finals MVP. He'll be up in the S tier. I don't think I have to explain that one. Now, moving on to another rookie, we have Ja Morant. He'll be going into the B tier. Rookie of the year, put up a great season with around 18 points and 8 assists. Almost led his team to the playoffs as a rookie, which would have been a very high remark for him. And again, as of now, he's an above average starter in my eyes. He'll definitely be someone that will probably be hitting this A tier sooner rather than later. Could even be next season. The West is pretty stacked with point guards though, so I'm not sure if he'll be an all-star next year, but he'll definitely be putting up all-star caliber numbers. And now we have Kendrick Nunn, who will be put in the C tier. I believe he was the runner-up for the Rookie of the Year award, and I know he had a great regular season, but as of now, Kendrick Nunn was definitely showing a lot more of his negatives in the playoffs. Wasn't quite there, but he's still a great offensive talent. So therefore, he's a starter caliber player to me. A lot of work to do on defense and playmaking, but Kendrick Nunn can definitely go and get you some buckets. Next, we have Eric Bledsoe of the Milwaukee Bucks. He'll be joining the boys in the B tier. Eric Bledsoe, great defender, NBA vet. This is, regular season is a large portion of the season, luckily for Bledsoe, meaning that he can get a little higher on these rankings, because we all know that come playoff times, Bledsoe tends to disappear. But, he's an above average starter. He's definitely not C tier, and he's definitely not A tier, so fits right in the middle in that B tier. Next, we have DAngelo Russell, who will be up into the A tier. This one, I had a little argument in my head, because DAngelo Russell definitely has the numbers of the guys in the A tier. He has, similar points per game, assists, all that good stuff. But DAngelo Russell, I don't know, I just feel like when I watch him play sometimes, he's just not the most outstanding player to me, which is why I wanted to put him in the B tier. But I decided to go more towards the stats and place him in the A tier with the rest of our all-star players. Next, we have Lonzo Ball of the Pelicans. He'll be joining everyone else in the B tier. Lonzo Ball is just, he's your prototype point guard, honestly, for just a solid rotational player. He plays defense, he passes, he's not the best shooter, but, he excels on defense and at passing. He's one of the better passers in the game. Therefore, his IQ is good enough to get him to the B tier. Next, we have Alfred Payne of the New York Knicks, and while I had him in the C tier for a while, I thought back on it, and I'm putting Alfred Payne in the B tier. And this might shock some people. I think maybe just they didn't watch enough Knicks games, not saying I did. But Payton, throughout his entire career, has averaged around 10 and 8. And, as much as you want to hate on him for never doing anything substantial in the league, it takes a lot of, IQ and effort and talent to be able to average double-digit points and 8 assists year in and year out. And because of that, it's kind of similar to Lonzo. I'm going to put Alfred Payton in the B tier just for the fact that he is one of the better playmakers in the league. He's even gotten a few triple-doubles to his name, so I know that wasn't this past season, but Alfred Payton going to the B tier. And then that brings up Chris Paul, who will be going into the A tier. A lot of people had him in the MVP discussion for what he did with the Thunder and their young core this past season, and it's well worth it. He's definitely still got some gas left in the tank. I'm excited to see where his next stop will be, assuming that he leaves OKC this offseason. But again, Chris Paul, he still got it, A tier. Now we got Markelle Fultz, B tier. Big setback on the shoulder injury, but his jump shot is starting to come back. It still looks pretty gross, but you can see that he's more willing to take some shots. He's still that same athletic freak and fast breaks that we used to know and love when he was in Washington. He's slowly on the comeback trail. I'm expecting big things from him in the few years because he's still very young, and the Magic like him a lot. Now we got Ben Simmons, who will be up in the A tier. I was thinking about putting him S tier, but Simmons I'm not even going to say it because of the shooting issues that we've seen, but I just don't know if he is, I don't know if he's hit the level of a Luka or LeBron yet, and I don't really know if he's a point guard in general. Like, he's just kind of thrown there by the Sixers, even though that might not be his best fit. Maybe if he's a power forward, he might be S tier. I'm not really sure. I do like Ben Simmons, and I hope he can help get the Sixers offense figured out. But for now, he's A tier. Ricky Rubio, we're going B tier with him. Much like Lonzo and Alfred Payton, just a very traditional, solid point guard and playmaker. Will go get you 8 assists. Will go get you, double-digit points, low double-digit points. But he's a very good playmaker that can help a lot of teams in this league. I know he's been in a few trade ideas recently. And that brings up Damian Lillard, who will be joining Luka and LeBron in the S tier. Lillard has just been year in and year out one of the better players in the league. Tremendous scorer, averaged 30 a game this past season. Carried his Portland Trailblazers team to the playoffs through thick and thin and all the injuries. He is very deserving of S tier in my opinion. And next we have Darren Fox. This is another one, much like DAngelo Russell. I was hesitant to put him in B or A, but I decided to go with A because I very much like Darren Fox. I think he's got great things to come. He averaged over 20 points a game this past season, and that was on a very not good Kings team. So I'm hoping he can finally get some good talent around him, and teams and fans will start taking notice of what Fox is doing down in Sacramento. Next we have Dejounte Murray, B tier, solid defender, still has a ways to go on offense, but inked a big deal with the Spurs a few years ago, and he's also on his way back from the ACL injury he suffered, I think 2 years ago, so good things coming from him. Kyle Lowry, former champion, will be going on to the A tier. Kyle Lowry just does so many things to help his team win that it can't show up in the stat score, but if you know Kyle Lowry, then you know that he is very much earned that A tier spot. Now we go to Mike Conley, who I decided to put in the C tier. Mike Conley's better days of basketball are definitely in the past. He's still a very formidable point guard. He's definitely starter caliber, but the Jazz are just using him as a playmaker at this point. They have Mitchell and Gobert to help pick up a lot of the slack that Conley has left behind, and overall, solid starter. And that brings us to Ish Smith, who is going D tier. It's the Wizards. Ish Smith shouldn't be starting on an NBA team. No offense to Ish Smith if he ever somehow sees this, but there's just a lot of better options out there. And lastly, we have Terry Rozier from the Hornets, who I'm going to put B tier. He actually had a pretty solid season when I look back at it. I remember hearing some reports that Hornets weren't happy with how he was playing, but I didn't think he was actually too bad. And looking back at the numbers support that. So he's going B tier. And that'll do it for this video of tiering point guards. There'll definitely be other positions coming out later on as I mix them in with these 3 for 30 videos. If you enjoyed this, drop a comment down below on what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. Other than that, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new and you enjoyed this and some of my other content. Definitely go check it out. And as always, most importantly, thank you for watching.